Okay, got both of them hammered out. A little smaller than I wanted, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. So what I'm not going to do is shape them a little bit. I got them pretty close to where I want, but I just, I don't want the edge to be quite that rounded, and just, smooth them out a little bit. I'm going to leave these rough, obviously, and I was going to sand that down a nice edge, but I kind of like the way it is, so I'm just going to cut another bevel into it and just see where that gets me. If I don't like it, I'll put a full bevel, but if not, whatever. I'll probably have to trim this down a little bit because I kind of like the way these look together. And with my handle fitting there, I'm probably going to want it to be a little smaller. Of course, I'm going to file this down where it's not rounded off, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is, probably just trim these up, get them the shape I want, and I've got a nice piece here I'm going to use to bolt them together. Of course, I'm going to drill a few more holes. This is off a leaf spring, I think. Just kind of another piece to use to attach it. Random scrap metal I had. I'm like, oh, I think this will look cool. So, gonna get everything shaped. Hopefully this works. Okay, now that I have the blades nice and forged out and ground, I guess, I had a little too much coffee. Not relevant, but either way, got my axe handle here. I did shave these down just a little bit, so that way they're about the same thickness here. And I got this piece of steel here. This is actually a chunk off of a leaf spring. I think this is the part that the leaf spring was attached to, and this was actually attached to the vehicle. I think, something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bend this just a little bit, probably about here and here. So I'm going to just put just a slight bit curve and then just kind of dome that out just ever so slightly, so that way it can go around the axe handle here. Then once I'm done with that, I'm going to drill out these holes, which are 7/16, because 3/8 is too much of a rounded number, I guess. So anyway, gonna have to drill that in here, and I'll probably put a couple more pinholes in here that are gonna be probably a 1/4 inch, I think is what I got. So gonna put that in the forge and try and bend it to as close to this as I can, and then get them attached. Then these should be ready for heat treat, I hope. Okay, got everything actually bolted. I was gonna drill a couple more holes just for stability, but honestly, once this is bolted down, they don't move. And I think once the wood handle is together, I don't think I'm gonna have an issue. So fingers crossed. Again, these are 7/16 bolts. The label is grade 5, at least at my local hardware store. Actually, technically farm supply store. Not important. Not sure if that's a general standard, is what they use, but whatever, they're not your typical bolts. So they're not going anywhere. This steel is pretty thick. also with Rich, not going anywhere. So I'm gonna basically just heat treat and temper these blades, do a bit of cosmetic stuff on the handle, and this thing's ready to see some action.